If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another tutorial. Today I'm going to sew along with you the Wayfarer 2.0 style number 1 by Quaint Stitch. Now this is the larger of the Wayfarers. I do have a smaller one too. This one is a style 2 of the Wayfarer Sling, the smaller size. So this one is slightly bigger, but really not as much bigger. What I like about the big one is it does fit my iPad in its large case with keyboard in the gadget pocket, as well as my MacBook Air. This one, it doesn't fit either of those things, but it'll be perfect for like an e-reader or a handheld gaming thing, or maybe an iPad mini or a tablet of some sort. So yes, depending on which, I'm 5'2", so you can kind of see how big these are. Honestly, the larger one is my favorite. Let me show you some of the features of this bag. So this bag is so incredibly customizable. You can add pockets, you can take pockets off. In this tutorial, I didn't do all of the pockets. I did most of them, but I didn't do them all. If you want to see how to do all of the pockets, this one here, a tutorial that has already been launched, I did all of the pockets, but that's a lot of pockets. So again, this is style 1, so it's only got the one zipper compartment. It's got a very generous zipper pocket right here. Do not be afraid of the curvy shapes. This was super easy to do. Underneath the parachute clip here, you have another generous pocket, and I've made a kind of one big enough for a cell phone pocket and another slip pocket for pens or what have you. In the main zipper compartment, this is where I have my gadget sleeve. So again, this fits my MacBook Air and my iPad in its case, and then a zipper pocket on the opposite side. On the back, we have an anti-theft pocket. So this is the perfect place to put your keys or your wallet or your garage door opener or whatever it is. That this will be up against your body, so you know you will not get pickpocketed at all. It's got a padded sling. It's padded here and here. The gadget pocket is also padded. What else to say about this? So this smaller one, the tutorial I have on this, I did it 100% birth. That was hard on my arms, I won't lie. So there's two ways of doing these bags. You can birth them or you can bind them. Now in this one, I did a combination of the two. So the front section, I birthed before putting on the back section. The reason I did that was the binding would be going right along the one side of the zipper tape, and for me that is not something that I like to do, is binding along a zipper tape. I'm always scared that the binding is going to get caught up in the zipper pull or whatever. So yeah, you can do that if you want to. So what I did was this front section, as we go through, and you'll see me do it in the video, is birthed, but then when we went to attach this main front panel to the back panel, I bound it, and it was a really, really easy bind. Let me see if I can show you. So it's bound all the way, there it is. See? And one thing about the binding, there's Coco, it really gave this bag like a lot, where you can see it's a lot more rigid. This one isn't bound, and it's a lot more squishy. So I really liked how this one went together. Now, this tutorial does have, or this pattern does have instructions for both the birth and the bound method. This one only comes in birth method, but you could definitely do it the same as one of these. Again, this tutorial is already up. This one went up on April 1st of 2023. What else about this? Minimal interfacing. The only interfacing I have in this is in this back panel and in the strap. I have Pretty in Pink sew foam from Galaxy Custom, so you can use a foam stabilizer. For my gadget pocket, I didn't want to create too much more bulk, so my gadget pocket, I have headliner foam in that. All of my cotton pieces are backed with Fuse Lite, which is like SF101 or a medium woven interfacing. In the bottom here, I do have a piece of Decaville Heavy, just because it is slightly larger than this one, and because it is going to be carrying, this is actually for my brother, so it's going to be carrying his work iPad or computer, so I wanted to make sure that it had a nice strong bottom on it for him. This vinyl, as well as this vinyl, is my new love in life. This is the Luxxe vinyl line from Galaxy Customs. It's super soft, suede-like, a dream to work with, and absolutely perfect for these Wayfarer bags, I swear. All of my hardware is from Emmaline bags. This is the matte black hardware, including my zippers and zipper pulls. My webbing is from Emmaline bags. What else? Oh, my lining is a special order from Spoonflower. I got a themed one from Spoonflower. I don't know what it's called. I do tell you what it's called in my cutting video. There is a cutting video for this one, so make sure you check that out as well. I'll try to remember to link it at the end. I will link it down in the description for you for sure. So if you want to cut this out, the cutout is kind of a live cutting with me, and then the sew is in my usual format. What else? What else? Thank you, Nipa, for allowing me to make this tutorial. I truly, truly enjoy it. And would you believe this one I said is for my brother's birthday. This one, I have a client that may be buying it, and I've got orders for 2 more. So this is a great, great selling bag. Again, this one can be done in style too, just like this one with the 2 zipper pockets. So I believe I haven't done the larger one with the 2 zipper pockets, so I believe they'll probably go together in somewhat the same fashion. I will probably do a tutorial on a double zip one if I ever get an order on it. So that may come up in the future. What else? What else? I think that is everything. How about we get to making this bag? So you're going to need some rivets, some 1-inch webbing, number 5 zipper tape, binding, a parachute clip, 2 D-rings, a slider, a swivel clasp, your nameplate, and 4 or 5 zippers depending on your preference. You're going to need your flap lining piece, your main top panel, your 4 connector pieces, your strap piece, your strap top, 2 strap top pieces, your bottom piece, your bottom front pieces, exterior and lining for that flap, your gusset exterior and lining, your gusset top exterior and lining, your zipper pocket pieces, lining pieces, your pen pocket pieces, your zipper tabs exterior and lining, your front pocket back piece, your front pocket front pieces exterior and lining, your gadget pocket pieces, and your main back pieces exterior and lining, as well as your main pocket panels exterior lining, and then your back slip or zipper pocket lining, as well as some headliner foam optional, some sew foam of some sort, and a Decavol heavy piece. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to place my Decavol heavy piece nice and centered on my bottom exterior piece. So the way I do this, so I know my Decavol heavy is definitely going to be outside of those seam allowances, is I find the centers on all 4 sides of both the exterior piece and the stabilizer piece. I just like to do little clips with my snips. And then I draw lines from each of those center points. So this is on the back side of my exterior, of course, and on the non-glue side of my stabilizer piece. And then to make these nice and centered, all you have to do is line up those lines and then go ahead and press that on, fuse it on, and it should be perfectly centered. Okay, so now we're going to work on our strap piece. So this goes together quite a bit different than in the sling size. So from the bottom of your strap piece, I'm going to measure up as per the instructions in the pattern. I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape at that line that we drew and fold that short raw edge of the bottom side up to that line, and that is going to enclose that raw edge. Okay, now we're going to fold this in half like so. And I'm just going to make a snip where the top center is of that raw edge. Kind of give it a good finger press here. I'm going to just mark my center on the opposite side with my pen, and then draw a line matching that center on the wrong side of this. I'm going to use some double-sided tape here to hold this in place. You could definitely use clips if you wanted to. Put it along the one side, actually both sides, like so. Take one side and fold it into that center line, using that tape to hold it in place. And then I'm going to take my foam piece, and I have some double-sided tape on the wrong side of that, and a 1/2 inch down from the raw edges there. You should line this up along there and along that edge that we just folded into the center, like so. Then we're going to fold up the other side to match up with the center, like so. And this is just making one side padded. And then after that, you're going to fold this wrong sides together in upon itself, just like we do when we make a strap, and use some clips to hold that in place. All clipped in place, you're going to take your webbing piece, measure down 1 inch from one side, make a mark, and on the side that we have folded in, you're going to place this up to that 1 inch mark, nice and centered. Use a couple clips to hold that in place, and then we're going to top stitch everything in place. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to do 1/8 of an inch down those 3 sides, and then go back in with 1/4 of an inch. You can baste the other side where the raw edges are if you like as well. So this is what that looked like. I went ahead and put in a rivet just for a little added stability. Now you're going to take your slider, so you have these both right sides up, your slider and your piece. Slide it onto the slider. Take your swivel clasp, have it right sides up, and then you're going to bring this up and around and underneath that swivel clasp. So you're kind of going underneath where we just fed it through. This is different than I usually do it. If you want to see how I usually do it, you can definitely go ahead and watch the Wayfarer Sling tutorial to show a different way of doing that. Now I did make a mistake here. I should have taken this raw edge and folded it under the other way. I should have looped it around differently. This will be fine. I'm folding in the raw edge of it, bringing it to that center one, and I am going to sew this here
with a box and an X. So the wrong side of that is of course going to be on the wrong side of my strap, but that's okay. It's still going to be up against the body. You are not going to see it. Again, if you want to see how I usually do it, you can definitely go ahead and watch the other video or follow the pattern. I obviously probably should have read the pattern a little bit better here, but it still looks amazing, and I'm going to leave it as is. So go ahead and sew that little box around there, just around that area to enclose that raw edge that we had folded under, and do an X in the middle of the box just to give a little bit extra stability to this strap. This is what this looks like done. Make sure that your adjustable strap works, and it does. Again, my side I did was on the wrong side, but that's completely fine. All right, so we're going to take our strap tabs on the top and short edge of one of them with it right side up, mark the center. We're going to take the raw edge of our strap, draw one half line, and place it nice and centered along that short straight edge. At that half line mark, clip it in place. Doesn't matter if it's right side or wrong side if you're using the same color fabric for this, but if you're using the wrong color, or not wrong color, different colors, make sure you're placing these properly. Once you have that basted in place, put the other strap top right sides together. So now the strap is kind of sandwiched in between, clip in place. We're going to leave the bottom side open for turning, and we are going to go up these three sides with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to take my pinking shears. They're just on these curvy parts, not where our strap is hanging over. I'm just going to kind of cut away some of that bulk so we can get some nice seams here. Go ahead, pull on that strap a little bit to help turn this right side out. Make sure you press out all of your seams. You may need a pokey tool to get those corners nice and sharp. And then once we have that, we are going to go ahead and we are going to take our foam stabilizer piece here, and we're going to stuff that in. Try to make it underneath one of the seams on the inside there. Make it nice and flat. Once you get it placed, use some clips to make sure it stays in place to prepare for top stitching. And then we're going to go around again, and we are going to top stitch with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and baste the raw ends shut like so. I also went and put another rivet here for decoration and stability. Strap is done. Okay, so now we're going to work on our connectors. So I have my 2 connector webbing pieces here. You can baste these. You don't have to use double-sided tape if you don't want to, but you can. Go ahead and put a D-ring in the middle and bring it wrong sides together. Mark up a 1/2 inch line from the raw side of that D-ring connector. Take one of your connector pieces and on one of the short sides, place this nice and centered with that 1/2 inch hanging over and baste that in place. I've done that with both. Now take the other connector pieces and put them right sides together. And on those two shorter sides, clip them together. We're going to leave the bottom longer edge open for turning. And we're going to sew around here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance like we've done here. I also did a little extra stitching within the seam allowance right where the webbing connects, just to make it a little bit stronger. Go ahead, trim up your corners without clipping your threads. I'm not trimming up too much where my connector pieces are. I want those to hang over. Once you have that, go ahead and turn these right sides out, pointing out all of those seams, making them super nice and crisp. And then press out the seams. I like to use clips to hold those seams in place, and we are going to top stitch along there with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and baste the bottom shut. So that's both done. I also added some rivets in there. Go ahead and trim off those dog's ears, and those are your connectors all done and ready to go. Okay, so let's work on our zipper tabs for that front pocket. Take your zipper tape right side up, your exterior piece of your zipper tab right side down, and your lining piece right side up, so that zipper tape is sandwiched between. Go ahead, sew across there, then bring these wrong sides together and top stitch them. So that's done. I've put my nameplate on already. I want to find the center of this zipper tape here, so I'm just going to mark it with my marking pen within the seam allowances. I'm matching up my zipper tab where those seams are. That'll make it nice and centered. Undo the zipper at this point because it'll make it easier to get it around those curves. I've already marked the top and bottom centers of this front pocket piece. You can use clips here. I really like to use double-sided tape when I'm doing zippers because it holds it in place and makes it nice and straight. Again, just know what the sensitivities of your machine are, whether you will use double-sided tape or not. Clips work perfectly fine. Okay, so once I have my tape on there, I have my zipper pull closing to the left, just making sure it's closing to the left, matching up the top center of my zipper tape, and my zipper is right sides down, wrong side up. Undo your zipper at this point, bring down the ends of the zipper tabs to the bottom corner, and then evenly massage and distribute that zipper tape around that corner. Do the same on the opposite side. Again, the zipper tape is right side down. You want to make sure, and the pull is closing to the left. Once you have that all in place, we're going to go ahead and we are going to sew around here with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Now at this point, as I'm doing my zipper, I'm changing into my right zipper foot so I can have a little more control and get a little closer to my zipper tape. This just helps get a straighter zipper. So go ahead and sew all the way around there with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Take a peek, make sure your zipper tape looks nice and even, and it does. Now I'm going to take my zipper front lining piece, mark my centers top and bottom, and then we're going to put this right sides together with this piece, kind of tuck the free side of the zipper down and out of the way, match up that center, and we are sandwiching that zipper tape in between these layers. Clip it all in place. And then go ahead and sew around here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once that is done, go ahead and turn this right side out. Press out all of your seams. If you're using cotton, definitely take this to your iron and give it a good press. I'm just going to have to kind of press this out the best that I can. Make sure your zipper closes there, and it does. And now we're going to take this and we are going to top stitch right along here with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now to do this, I still want to get a nice straight line. I'm actually going to change into my left side zipper foot. I love changing into zipper feet, you know me. So this means I can get nice and close against that seam without worrying about my zipper foot getting caught on my zipper teeth. Now we're going to take this flap top piece here. We want to find the center of that curvy section in there, make a small snip, make sure it's definitely centered. As I say, I always double and triple check, as you guys know. And now we're going to take the center mark of the unsewn part of our zipper and match it up. So these are right sides together like so, to get that center right in place like this. This is tough to explain, so make sure you definitely watch here. Once you have that mark, then you're going to feed, or you're going to evenly distribute that zipper around like so. Clip the end as well. I just have a little excess here that I noticed from my cutting out, so I'm going to trim that up now. Clip the end together. Again, we're working with the unsewn side of the zipper. This feels a little bit awkward, but really it'll work out, trust me. And then evenly distribute the fabric the rest of the way around. Use a ton of clips to make sure that that zipper stays in place. I mean, that's what I do as well. Have that all clipped in place. We are going to go ahead and we are going to baste this in place. Sewing around here, kind of making sure this pocket's out of the way, all the way around where we've clipped with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And I'm going to change back from my left zipper foot into my right zipper foot. I'm a pro at changing feet right now. I really do love having multiple feet for my machine. It just makes the job so much easier, trust me. All right, so go ahead and sew around there with 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure you check your bobbin. I lost the game of chicken and I sewed this once already, so I had to go ahead and re-sew it because I was sewing without bobbin. Grr. Okay, now that that's all done, what we want to do is put on our pocket backing now. So make sure your zipper opens and closes, which it does. Flip the main panel over, wrong side up like so. Find your top and bottom centers of this backing piece. Now on that curvy part, we're going to match up the center. Now You'll see here we have both the exterior piece and this backing piece wrong sides up, and that's what we want because we are forming the backing of this pocket. So we want to be able to see the correct side of the fabric through that pocket. Go ahead and add this in, and we are going to go and we are going to sew that exact seam that we had just sewn to attach the zipper to that front panel with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. Again, you can see I'm no stranger to the clips here. Clips are your friend, so go ahead and sew all the way around with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So that's all sewn. Make sure your zipper works again. Mine does. And now we need to sew that seam in place. Make sure you press this seam up and out of the way, away from the zipper, and top stitch all the way around there with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I did a cutting mistake here. I cut the little pleats or whatever they're called. We weren't supposed to cut those, but I'm just going to fold those raw edges together and sew across there with a 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and we will see if it fits. So just bring those little raw edges together and look, yep, they look good there. Now, once doing this, I also noticed that I cut the wrong fabric for my lining piece because I decided to use the black vinyl for this. So I went ahead and I cut another lining piece so it would match. And now the moment of truth. Yes, doing it this way still worked and we still line up. So yay, save the day. So you can do it this way or you could do it as per the pattern, whichever you choose. If you cut it out with my cutting video, you will have cut this wrong. But knowing that this fix makes it better, we are all good. So go ahead and put these right sides together like so. You want to make sure the parts with the darts are going to be towards the bottom once we sew the seam. So right now they're kind of pointing up to the top. So across there with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance and do the same with the lining side. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and change back into my standard foot for a little while because this will just help feed that fabric through a lot better. So that's all done. Now we want to press those seams down towards that bottom panel and top stitch through here on both the lining and the exterior side. So that's completely done. You kind of get a curved area. My pocket works good. Looks excellent. Now we're going to work on the male side of our parachute clip here. Feed your webbing through like so. Bring it wrong sides together, just like a connector. I use a little piece of double-sided tape on the wrong sides to hold my ends. You could baste that if you preferred. Now from the wrong side of the connector, measure up 1/2 inch. And then you're going to put it centered along the top exterior piece like so. So we have wrong side up. Clip that in place and baste it. Once that's basted in place, bring the lining side, right sides together with this, and clip along that top where that parachute clip is, and the 2 curvy sides. Clip it all in place, nice and even. Then we're going to sew along here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, once that's done, I did another little bit of stitching within the seam allowance just where that connector is, taking my pinking shears and just along these curvy parts, I'm going to kind of trim it down so we can get a nice and kind of rounded seam. Once you have that done, go ahead and turn these wrong sides together. You give that parachute clip a little bit of a tug. That definitely helps get things through. Use your pokey tool to poke out those corners nice and crisp. Roll those seams between your fingers to get a nice seam. Again, I like to use clips when I'm using vinyl as I can't press it. And then we are going to top stitch along those curvy sides with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and baste the rest of the way around. And this is what that looks complete. And then that flap is done. You can set this aside for now. Okay, so I already went ahead and I did all of my zipper pockets on my main lining panel where I have left an opening in the bottom of the zipper pocket for that first turn. I've also gone and put my slip pocket on the main exterior panel, as well as my zipper pocket in my back panel, backed it with foam and cut a hole in it so my zipper pocket can kind of freely be on the opposite side of the foam. If you need a class on how to do those zipper pockets, it's down below in the description. Okay, so I've changed this up a little. I've put my headliner foam on the back of my gadget pockets. Now, I kind of decided if you were going to do this as per the pattern, you would put these right sides together and sew across, and then bring them wrong sides together and top stitch. But I had a last minute thought that I wanted to go rogue and put on a little bit of an accent strip on top. So off of both of the exterior and the lining pieces of the gadget pocket, I took 3/8 of an inch off at the top. I'm going to put these two, the exterior and the lining, wrong sides together and clip them in place and baste those all the way around. So that's what we have. Now I'm going to take my vinyl strip and put it along the top, or right sides together. I just found that having this black strip helped break up my purple lining, so it kind of had a little bit more dimension. So across here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, fold this up and use that seam as a guide where to fold this over and under. It'll make a nice and solid seam. I'll fold this over. Only do this with non-fraying fabric, of course. Fold it over to the wrong side like so, and then top stitch right along here. So that's all done. Trim up the vinyl accent. And we have that vinyl pocket, or that exterior pocket done. Now take your lining piece of your back piece and match up your raw edges here with that gadget pocket and the edges. And we are going to base this together with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance once we have it all clipped in place. And look how nice that vinyl strip looks. It just really helped break up the, the purple color there. That's what's great about making your own bags, is you can go rogue every now and then. It's okay. All right, so our gusset top, I've done my zipper pulls already. I'm doing 2 pulls. I kind of sewn little stops on either end of my zippers so my pulls won't go off. On my gusset piece along that top, I am cutting my centers, or marking my centers. Now along this bottom piece, I have my center marked on my zipper tape as well at the 10-inch mark. I'm putting it right sides together with this, clipping the centers, then bringing the ends down and clipping the ends. Same with the other side, similar to what we did with that front pocket. Evenly distribute the zipper tape the rest of the way around. You can see it doesn't look like it wants to fit, but when it's kind of curved up, you will see how it fits. So kind of bringing it up like I'm doing right now, you'll see it will go around that curve perfectly. Again, don't be a stranger to clips. This is our main zipper compartment, so you want it to look good. Once that's all done, we're going to go and base this in place, which I have done. Now I'm going to take my lining piece, and similar to like we did with that front pocket, we are going to match up those curvy centers, the kind of bottom part centers, putting this right sides together with that exterior piece and sandwiching that zipper tape in place. And then we can go ahead once this is all clipped here, and we are going to sew it with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I believe it's a 3/8 of an inch. No, I lied. It's a 1/4 of an inch. So go ahead. I've put my right zipper foot on again, and I'm going to sew around here with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so that's all done. So now what we want to do is make sure our zipper tape is nice and even, and it is, and then pull these wrong sides together, do some finger pressing. If you've used cottons, definitely take it to the iron and press, that would help. Take your time to get this going, and we're going to top stitch along here and baste the raw edges together. Okay, so now that that is attached, we're going to work on our gusset pieces. So on your gusset pieces, find your top and bottom centers, both the exterior and the lining pieces. And I know you're going like, oh, now why do we have gusset pieces and we don't have the bottom here? The bottom is going to come into play. You will see soon. Don't fret. So we're going to take this, and along this side, we are going to put, Coco says hi, these right sides together along those short edges, and then take your lining piece and put it right sides together with the lining sides. So we are sandwiching the zipper panel like so. Just make sure your exteriors are right sides together and your lining is right sides together. And then you're going to sew across here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then pull these wrong sides together, give it a good finger press, and top stitch right through here to hold that seam in place. So that's all done. So we're going to do the same with the other side, and we're going to create kind of a loop-de-loop figure 8 type thing. So bring, again, those short ends together, exteriors are right sides together, bring up the lining right sides together, sandwiching that zipper tape, and then go ahead and sew through here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance as well. Okay, so this is what we have. So we're going to kind of pull these and put them wrong sides together like so. We have a big loop, and then we're going to top stitch through there, also baste the other sides. So we're working with one piece. So there's my top stitching. All my edges are basted together. Now we're going to work on this bottom piece. So an inch down from each of the short sides, I'm going to use some double-sided tape to help hold this in place. It should fold in right snug next to our stabilizer there. Fold those 2 raw edges in like so, nice and snug with the stabilizer. And I have already marked the centers of my bottom of my gusset, so I'm going to match the centers of the bottoms of my bottom, and we're putting these both right side up. So this is just making a really, really structured bottom. This would also be where you would have installed your bottle holders if you wanted to, and what this does is it hides those raw edges of the bottom holders, bottle holders. So that's why we are doing this like so. So I went ahead and top stitched this in place and make sure my zipper works, and that is done. Okay, so now we're going to take this flat piece. We are going to take our exterior main panel piece. So this is the piece that has our slip pocket kind of on the inside of it. Match up those centers, match up those sides, and then we are going to baste this in place. That's done. Take your parachute clip and kind of tuck it down and inside like this so it's out of the way. We have our centers marked on our zipper tape. We are working with the unsewn side of our gusset zipper tape. Match that center up with the top of this main compartment center. Undo your zipper at this point. Again, I'm using double zipper pull, so I don't need to worry about which direction my zipper is going. At this point, make sure that your zipper, well, when you installed your zipper tape, you should have thought about which way the zipper was going to make sure it's closing to the left or right, or your preference. Match up the top and bottom centers, and then evenly distribute the fabric all the way around the sides. Okay, so once that is done, we're going to go ahead and baste around here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is what we got. Make sure everything looks good. And now this is the part of the bag we are going to be birthing. So kind of tuck all of this down and out of the way. Take your lining piece that has the zipper pocket with the open bottom, because that's our birthing hole. Take the unsewn side of the gusset and stuff it into the middle. We're going to be making a like pita pocket here, or a pizza pop, or a burrito of some sort. Match up the top and bottom centers, making sure everything that's not being sewn is staying out of the way, and clip all the way around. We have all of those clips in. This is what it looks like. It looks like a big pillow. I forgot to mention, make sure your zipper pocket is open, which mine is, and we're going to sew all the way around there with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, using your sense of touch to make sure you're not sewing over your zipper teeth and that you're not sewing through any of those middle gutsy areas that you don't want to be sewing through. Take it nice and slow, and especially around the corners. The corners are the hardest part. Take it nice and slow. You've got this. You can do it. And be very, very mindful when you get to the part where the zipper teeth are, that you know where your zipper placement is. Having a stiletto definitely helps when you get to the zipper teeth part, just to make sure that everything is staying where it should. Once that's done, you can see everything's caught. Go ahead and reach in through the opening of that pocket. Grab that parachute clip, because if you get that flap through first, this is really easy to turn. So go ahead and turn it through the opening in the pocket. This turn is not hard at all. That's why I didn't mind doing this. Even with my carpal tunnel, I could manage it. So go ahead and turn it through, kind of massage and pull and massage and pull until it all comes through. Once you got that all turned out, make sure you're pressing out all of those seams nice and sharp like I'm doing now. Take your time. This helps shape the bag really good. You want to make sure everything is where it needs to be before we seal it up. We want to make sure that our zipper does close freely, that we didn't accidentally trap any teeth in stitching. So double check that. Mine is good. It looks so amazing. Kind of press out all those seams. Now what we're going to do once it looks good is we are going to close up that zipper pocket. So pull out that zipper lining. I'm just pressing out a little more, but pull out that zipper lining, fold in those raw edges by a 3/8 of an inch or so, clip in place, and then we are going to top stitch this zipper pocket shut. Now that that's done, put your zipper pocket back in. It's just looking so good. I so love how this bag turned out. Okay, so we are in the home stretch. Now we need to work on that back panel. So let's go ahead and do our connectors here. So follow your pattern for the measurements as to how much you're measuring up and draw a line. Make sure that the the connector pieces are kind of angled up towards the middle. Clip them in place right at that line, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to baste these in place with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Done, we're going to working on the binding section of this. So take your back panels and put them wrong sides together, clip them in place. So this is the back panel of the lining side that has our gadget pocket. This is the thicker of the panels because we do have that headliner foam and that sew foam. Again, the sew foam in the back is completely optional. I just thought it would be nice to have that in there for comfort reasons when it's being carried against your back. Once we have this in place, you're going to go ahead and we are going to just baste these in place together. Okay, so that is done. It's all one piece. Now we have to work on the female side of our parachute parachute clip. So again, just like we did with the other connectors, feed it through, make sure it's facing the right side. So your right side is up. Bring the webbing wrong sides together. Okay, now make sure we want to position this correctly. So we're going to measure up 1/2 inch from that raw edge, just like we did with the others, as a guide to where we're going to place it. Now what we want to make sure is that this is facing the right way. So kind of make sure it's going to clip in properly to that other one, and right along that center top part, clip it in place, and we're going to base this. I'm going to just double check it snaps in, and it does. So I do have it placed properly and based through there. Now we're going to take our strap, and we are going to place it right sides together, centered on the top here. Double check that it's centered, clip it in place, and then we are going to baste this in place. Okay, so that's all basted in place. Now we're kind of undo the zipper here. It'll just help a little bit, flip things out, kind of have, we want to have this wrong sides out, because we are going to be putting this on right sides together, like so, clipping the bottom center, and then clipping the top center, and then working the fabric evenly all the way around. Again, tuck in the middle section so they're out of the way. I found opening that front zipper pocket section, that main zipper, and pulling the strap through just helped have a little less bulk there. So you can kind of see what I mean here. Clip it all in place in preparation for the binding. Again, no, I wasn't a stranger to clips here. And then we're going to take this to the machine, and we're going to go all the way around with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Time for binding. I prefer bias tape binding. I'm making sure that my thread matches my binding and my lining, just because if I make any mistakes, nobody's going to know differently. I'm not going to do the binding on the video. If you need a class on how to do bias tape binding, I do have that down in the description below. Otherwise, do whatever binding method you prefer for this step. Okay, so that's my binding all done. It looks good. Now we can go ahead and we can turn this right side out. Once you have it all turned right side out, press out all of those seams nice and crisp. Turn this part up and under and poke out those seams. Massage them all out. We're so done. This looks so amazingly good. Make sure everything plays properly. We zip up good. Our parachute clips match up, and they do. Our strap is facing the right way for our sling, and it is. Admire your work. Pat yourself on the back. Great job, everybody. It just looks so good. I so love, 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 love this bag. And then we're done.
So what'd you think of that? Pretty good sew, hey? I mean, I seriously liked it. I'm not a sling and backpack girl, but I truly, truly enjoyed making these. This size is my go-to size. I mean, this one is good too, but I think this is the one, if I were to make for myself, this is the one I would definitely do that. Anyways, if you did like this tutorial, please do give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Make sure you hit that notifications bell so you know when my new videos come up. I do post new videos weekly, so make sure you watch for those. Again, that notification bell will help remind you how to do that. I did have for March 2023, we did sew along this one and on the membership side. So if you need slowed down classes on how to do one of these bags, this one in particular, it's actually the style one I do for class. You could definitely check out the membership side and catch the replays of that if that interests you. There's so many classes on there. We've been doing it for over a year, so take a peek. Maybe there's something there you'll sign on for a month or so. If not, that's okay as well. If you want to support my channel further, you could definitely buy me a coffee. That's linked down below in the description. Anyways, until the next one, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.